Today, we are diving deep into the incredible biological toolkit of one of the forest's most amazing residents, the woodpecker. We're going to see how this bird is just an absolute masterpiece of evolutionary engineering. You know that sound, right? That distinctive drumming echoing through the trees? It's a super familiar sound, a pretty common sight, but the biology that actually makes it possible? Well, that's one of nature's most extraordinary secrets. And this is where things get really wild. A woodpecker's head slams into a tree with forces that can exceed 1,000 Gs. That's over 1,000 times the force of gravity, and they do it thousands of times a day. For you or me, that would be completely catastrophic. So, how in the world do they do it? Well, to answer that, we have to look at the woodpecker, not just as a bird, but as this marvel of biological design. So, let's investigate the amazing biology that solves this pecking paradox. It turns out the secret is in a whole suite of highly specialized tools, an entire toolkit built right into its body. So let's take an inside look, piece by piece. And we're going to start from the very foundation. The point of contact with the tree. Because for this job, stability is absolutely everything. It all starts with their feet. See, their toes have this unique arrangement called ectropodactyl. It just means 2 toes point forward and 2 point back. This creates this incredible vice-like grip that lets them cling to vertical surfaces with rock-solid stability. But, okay, the feet are only 2 points of contact. For the kind of stability you need for high-impact hammering, you really need a third point, and that is where the tail comes in. Unlike the soft, flexible tail feathers of most birds, a woodpecker's central tail feathers are unbelievably rigid, with these stiff shafts and pointed tips. They press right up against the bark, and boom! They form the third leg of a perfectly stable tripod, absorbing the recoil from every single blow. Okay, so the body is stable. That's sorted. But that still doesn't solve our big mystery of how the brain survives all this. For that, we need to look at the head, which is where the most jaw-dropping adaptations are found. Let's start with something you might not expect, the tongue. And this is not your average bird tongue, not by a long shot. It's part of a really complex, kind of bizarre apparatus that is absolutely key to the whole operation. The key is this extraordinarily long bone called the hyoid, which supports the tongue. This setup allows the tongue to shoot way out beyond the bill, spearing insects that are deep inside the wood. But believe it or not, that's only half the story. And here's the truly mind-blowing part. This same hyoid bone doesn't just sit in the mouth. It actually extends out the back of the jaw, wraps completely up and over the top of the skull, and anchors near the forehead. It acts like a combination seatbelt and airbag, literally cushioning the brain and scattering the force of every impact. This right here, this is the solution to our paradox. Now, with a design that's successful, it's really no surprise that this family of birds has spread far and wide. So let's zoom out and see just how global the woodpecker family really is. I mean, from the tropics to the temperate zones, you can find woodpeckers in forests and woodlands on nearly every continent. The only major places they haven't conquered are Australasia, Madagascar, and of course, Antarctica. And we're not just talking about one bird here. The family, which is called Picidae, is incredibly diverse. We're talking 214 recognized species, and they range in size from these tiny, sparrow-sized little birds called piculets to the large, really powerful logcocks. To really appreciate that diversity, just check out the contrast between the true woodpeckers we've been talking about and their very odd relatives. The wrynecks. Wrynecks don't dig their own nests, they have soft tails and these short pointed bills. They're just a fascinating example of how one family can adapt in completely different ways. This diversity also extends to their behavior. The classic image is of a bird just hammering away for wood-boring insects, but their ingenuity goes so much further than that. I mean, look at their menu. It is surprisingly varied. Some species are basically sap farmers, drilling little wells into trees. Others feast on acorns, berries, and ants. A few even sip nectar from flowers, or will snatch insects right out of the air. They're also really clever tool users. Many species use what we call anvils. It's a crevice in a tree where they can wedge a pine cone or a big nut. This holds the item steady, letting them hammer it open to get at the food inside. It's just a remarkable display of problem solving. And maybe no species shows more foresight than the acorn woodpecker. These guys create massive granaries by drilling thousands of holes into a single tree, and each hole is perfectly sized to store one single acorn for the winter. It is an incredible investment of time and energy.
All this constant work, the drilling, the hammering, the excavating, it doesn't just benefit the woodpecker, it actually makes them one of the most important architects of the entire forest ecosystem.
Here's the really crucial thing to understand. Every single hole a woodpecker carves out is a potential home. And once the woodpecker family moves on, these cavities become a vital, critical resource for so many other animals.
I mean, think about it. Countless other birds, like chickadees and bluebirds, they can't make their own nests in trees. Neither can squirrels or mice. They all rely on these pre-made, move-in-ready homes. By creating all this essential real estate, woodpeckers play what we call a keystone role, supporting the diversity of the entire forest community. So you see, they are so much more than just forest drummers. They are shock-proof survivalists, ingenious foragers, and essential ecosystem architects. So the next time you hear that familiar sound out in the woods, you might just see things a little differently. Not just a bird, but the work of a master.